The Shores of Gold, a mythical place in the Sea of Thieves with about as much lore significance and money as you could imagine. There's only one problem: the way to that island is closed. It lies beyond the Shroud, the Red Sea, a place no vessel can survive a voyage to as the waters themselves tear apart your ship. So how do we get there? I'm so glad you asked! With a 9-part story quest, of course. Truth be told, I didn't see myself tackling this challenge pretty much ever, for reasons that will become obvious very soon. But I also knew that if I was going to do it, I'd take you guys along for the ride. So join me as my friends and I set sail towards the most legendary place in the entire game. Welcome to the Sea of Tales. To begin our journey towards the Shores of Gold, we would need something to help us survive the shroud that engulfs the Sea of Thieves. The fittingly named Shroud Breaker would be said item, and thankfully, this completely inconspicuous individual knows where we can find it. Well, actually, he doesn't, but the Pirate Lord does, and he conveniently knows where we can find his journal. We're not gonna talk about how said Pirate Lord is literally sitting in his basement and we could just go ask him about it, because if we did, he would have no reason to spout literal minutes of exposition at us. But whatever, we go out and find the remains of the Magpie's wing to retrieve the ship's log and begin hunting for the Shroud Breaker. Now, it is worth mentioning that despite Tall Tales pretty much being single-player adventures, there are no Tall Tales specific servers. In fact, we spotted a bunch of ships who could turn around at any moment to begin messing with us, meaning PvP would be a concern throughout most of our journey. Anyway, using the logbook we just fished out, we can retrace the route that the ship had taken. Apparently, they were being chased by somebody, and in typical PvE player fashion, they'd rather toss their treasure overboard than handing it over to their enemy. Birdie was trying to Google our destination so we didn't have to do set tracing, but it literally took him longer to find the solution than me just reading the book.
We have to determine where you went. Down here. You already figured it out.
I think it's Paradise Spring, southwest of us. And southwest we went. It wasn't a far journey for us to get to our destination, but on the way we spotted a ship that seemingly tried to intercept our course. Naturally, I didn't want any trouble if I could avoid it, and figured that we might as well be very blunt about what we're trying to do.
Hello, we're just on a tall tale, don't mind us.
Dan, have a good journey.
Thank you.
It seemed like the rumors ended up holding true. There appears to be a mutual understanding among experienced players that attacking somebody on a tall tale is considered to be a bit of a dick move. Of course, not everybody abides by those unwritten rules, and I'm sure we will meet such individuals in due time. But for the time being, we were allowed to continue and retrieve the chest that was dumped into the ocean. The contents within consisted of a few items that didn't make a heck of a lot of sense to me.
Oh yeah, this is it. Here you go, Shroud Breaker.
Oh, we found it! Onto the Shores of Gold! But of course we celebrated too soon. I mean, what did you expect? There are 8 more tall tales after this one, and we're just about halfway through the first. What we actually found was a totem that functions as a key. Think Vaults of the Ancients, but without the golds. It was at that point that we got the sneaking suspicion that tall tales consist of a heck of a lot of sailing. Sailing a route that inconveniently brought us within firing range of an active Skellyford, but hey, we survived worse. Like, for example, Birdie bringing us to the wrong island.
Oh, that is Crooked Hollow, isn't it?
Following the clues in the book, we eventually arrived at Crook's Hollow without much of an idea of what to expect. Usually, when you use a totem key for a vault, the gate will open and proceed to close very slowly while you collect the treasure. But with this one, I just found myself in an empty room while Birdie went back to the ship to grab some food. I decided to light the braziers just to see if the light would reveal some more clues, and, well... Oh.
Walk right by it, Cliff. Cliff, where'd you go? Cliff, where did you go? Cliff, where are you?
What do I do?
Cliff, did you start it without me?
No, I wouldn't.
It's a puzzle. It's a puzzle, you idiot.
That's not good. This was about as worst case scenario as it gets, because you see, puzzles and I go about as well as oil and water. I mean, sure, you can immersion blend it to make it work, but in this metaphor, Birdie was my immersion blender, and unfortunately, I left the charger in the car.
Did you do that?
Where do you see that?
It's in the book!
Like, where in the book?
But it's the one that's different from the other ones, Cliff.
I have no clue what you're saying.
Oh my god. Just do what I'm telling you to.
Okay, first symbol. First symbol is the one that looks like an altar with flames coming out of it. Okay, there's only the version with the guy holding. There's the other version that you said isn't on there.
What symbols are on the first one?
Guy holding the altar, some kind of boat with waves atop and below. Guy with just a simple object above him and guy with swords. Our communication was breaking down. The things Birdie described and the things that I saw in front of me did not line up, making me question whether or not I'd be able to complete it. But the solution was right in front of me. The symbols on the pillars had changed when I accidentally got the first column right. The solutions had to be put in sequence and did not force you to start over when inputting the wrong order. And eventually... okay. Oh my god! Oh, Birdie, I did it. Man, if you thought me struggling with the very first puzzle was painful to watch, then just you wait until we get further down the tall tales. But we weren't done here yet. The trap was disarmed, but we still needed to find 3 medallions to reveal the treasure. The altar would show us a picture of where we could find them, so all we had to do was go around the island with those hints in mind and dig up the coins. Once all 3 medallions were slotted in, we would finally be given what we came here to acquire. The Shroud Breaker. That's it, right? This is what we needed to survive our trip beyond the Red Sea. At least so I thought, until I saw the Tall Tale banner which said, "The Grand Adventure begins." Yeah, we're still very far from setting sail towards the shores of gold, because you see, the Shroud Breaker's power comes from a few magical gems, and well, they're not freaking here. Think Infinity Gauntlet without the Infinity Stones. Without the gems, this thing is basically just a glorified paperweight. For now, we had to sail through the storm and past the active skeleton fort once more to deliver said paperweight to the mysterious stranger. We could have definitely picked a more convenient outpost than Ancient Spire, but whatever, it was the closest one around. Another thing I realized by now is that the NPCs in this game really enjoyed the sound of their own voice. If you are interested in this exposition, I guess you'll have to play it yourself. All you really have to know is that in order to find the Infinity Stones, we needed the help of Madame Olivia, and she is currently stationed at Plunder Outpost. But before we could even set sail, we had to take care of some uninvited visitors.
Man's ship anchored right. Wow.
I think we have nothing to worry about.
I'm boarding.
Remember when I said that experienced players don't usually attack people on Tall Tales? Yeah, they also don't usually run their ships into islands. I couldn't tell you what possessed this guy to attack us out of nowhere, and I take no pleasure in telling you that his already destroyed vessel, upon sinking, dealt more damage to our ship than him firing his cannons. To drive home their inexperience even more, this dude was trying to sell a Reaper's bounty at Ancient Spire. Of course, we had no intention to carry an item around that literally marks us on the map, so we just left it at the outpost before going on our merry way. A bunch of sailing later, we had to go past the Skelly Fort again, but what awaited us at the outpost definitely came as a bit of a surprise. Oh, is that our friends from earlier? I'm gonna go say hi.
Hello.
I'm looking for the captain of this fine vessel.
Hello, how are you?
I just wanted to announce ourselves. We're at the other end of the island. We're here for the next part of the Tall Tale.
Wait a second, before you go. I'm about to log off. Take everything from the ship you want.
Oh.
Crate here.
Cool, I'll gladly
crate.
take you up on that. Thank you.
Which tale are you doing?
We're doing the Shroud Breaker for the first time. In stark contrast to the other outpost, this individual continued to extend nothing but kindness towards us. Contrary to that very pleasant conversation, we now had to listen to Madame Olivia's monologue for a few uninterrupted minutes. Basically, she was using a lot of words to describe that all we had to do was go out and kill 2 skeletons. Okay, it's a bit more complicated than that. To find out where the Infinity Stones are hidden, we had to track down those who are last known to have seen them. Captain Briggsy is the only pirate we know that has made it to the shores of gold, so that's as good a clue as we can get. We gotta go and find some of Briggsy's possessions, which with the help of a little bit of magic can show us where she is. Sounds simple enough, right? Just solve the riddle, find the locations, and go slaughter the skellies for their treasure. Unfortunately, when Birdie is the one responsible for solving said riddle, you can never guarantee that it's gonna be that easy. Did you look up the wrong skeletons by any chance?
Nope, you should just be at the top of the mountain. Yeah, this isn't the right place.
You think so? What gave it away?
How about the fact that it's at Snake Island? That's what gave it away.
Back to the task at hand. The first of the Skelly Bros gave us a skeleton key, and the second one was hiding the chest that corresponded to said key. Within the chest, we found Briggsy's broken spyglass as well as a star map, which I'm sure are completely random items and have no relevance to any upcoming Tall Tale at all. I'm kind of breezing through this chapter because fighting skellies isn't exactly what I consider dangerous, but you know what is? That Reaper emissary that logged in while we were hunting down said Skelly Bros. We were keeping a watchful eye on the map to make sure we didn't get ambushed, but when it was time to return to Madame Olivia, I couldn't help but notice that these Reapers were kind of in the way. Back to Ancient Spire where the Reapers currently headed. Actually, no, it's Plunder, it's Plunder. Oh my god! Birdie, 500 IQ diversion. They're going for the chest that we left at the outpost. We played 5D underwater chess. We're so many steps ahead, even we didn't know what we did there. Truly, my intellect scares even myself. With the Reapers preoccupied, we could deliver Briggsy's belongings to Madame Olivia and be rewarded with ever more exposition. We watched her do some Order of Soul stuff, I guess, and at the end of that light show, she handed over an enchanted compass. And man, do I ever hope you enjoy sailing for extended periods of time. Obviously, I've been cutting most of the travel out, but this part of the tall tale specifically was sending us to what felt like the opposite end of the map. Not exactly what I would call riveting gameplay, but as promised, the enchanted compass eventually led us to Briggsy, a fearsome skeleton lord that has taken the lives of many a pirate who faced her unprepared. Thankfully, we were prepared and dealt with her just like we've dealt with any skeleton lord before. Wait, why did we kill her again? Besides her making us sail across the entire dang map. Oh, right, her memories. Once we brought the skull to Madame Olivia, she could use her voodoo magic to extract Briggsy's memories and tell us where we can find the Infinity Stones. Is she making out with the skull? Oh my god. Yeah, I start to see why nobody's running their emissary flag, but here's the problem with Rare's insistence to drown you in exposition. Sea of Thieves is a PvP game. While we were sitting in that tent listening to her ramblings, a brigantine had run up on us, and as is so often the case, they weren't here to talk. A fight like this is definitely outside my comfort zone, so I best be calling up some assistance. Alright, Blurbs, how do we deal with that brigantine?
Oh god, Cliff, how did you let this happen? You should have seen them coming. Okay, doesn't matter. You need to get out of there because being in the broadside of a brig, no matter their skill level, is a horrible idea. Go ahead, get repaired up, and I guess you and Birdie can go for a double board? Double board?
Yeah, we can go. Ready? Wait. Yeah, you go. I'm gonna need to actually be prepared to board.
Oh my god, guys, a double board requires okay, look. Cliff, you can still do this. Just make sure you block with your sword to try and get a silent board, and you need to be as stealthy as possible. Whatever you do not try and reason with them.
Gentlemen, greetings. Hey, we're just on a tall tale.
Cliff, what did I just tell you?
Yeah, I should have probably listened to you. Though speaking of listening, it seems like they finally heard me.
Okay, well, I'm gonna send you and Birdie both a sternly worded letter for that double board, but I guess I'm no longer needed, so good luck on your tall tale.
It wasn't until I returned to our ship to bring the few gems worth of loot that we had over to them that I realized these guys were not the Reapers that I initially thought they were. They could, in fact, be reasoned with, even though some of them had interesting ways to communicate. Here it is. It's all yours. Boop, 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 boop. Our ship is still sailing, by the way. We might want to do something about that.
Nah, we'll be okay.
The captain of this very unique crew eventually blessed us with his presence, apologizing for the attack. As it turned out, these guys weren't really trying to fight people for loot, but just, like, for fun. We would have loved to indulge their desire, but unfortunately, these tall tales take absolute ages to complete, so we really did not have any time for that. After exchanging farewells, Birdie and I returned to our ship while these guys went looking for a new target. And that very much worked in our favor, because not only was the Reaper now clearing the skeleton fort that kept annoying us, but that other brigantine was fighting the Reaper as well. The two of us, meanwhile, could go and talk to Tasha at Ancient Spire, who was one of the names we siphoned out of Briggsy's skull. She told us about meeting Briggsy before she turned into a skeleton lord, though Tasha herself was still a child at the time. Yeah, no, I don't really care about any of this. What I do care about is the monstrosity of a book that she put in our hands that is somehow supposed to help us find the crown of the Shroud Breaker, which up until this point I had not realized we needed. Apparently, just finding the gems would be too easy. Would you be surprised if I told you that there was more sailing in order? Because decoding the gibberish in that children's book revealed 3 different locations, all of which were inconveniently far apart. There was a key hidden on Crook's Hollow, a second one in a shipwreck by Crooked Mass, and a chest on Thieves Haven. You will notice we got away scot-free during this entire quest because the 2 brigantines kept butting heads at the fortress instead of giving us a hard time. We had been sailing long enough to not care for any more distractions, ignoring any and every AI enemy the game put in front of us and making use of every shortcut available, even if it came at the cost of our ankles. I know I just made this quest look very short, but trust me when I say that it was a heck of a lot of sailing, and I was very much looking forward to finding the artifact. So you can imagine my reaction when what we found inside that double-locked box was no such artifact, and instead, even more work.
What do you think we have to do with this, Cliff?
Oh no. Oh no. After traversing half the Sea of Thieves, we finally arrived at the tail end of that quest. And at last, we had the crown in our hands. Yeah, don't be mistaken, we had just completed the Shroud Breaker itself and are yet to find any of the Infinity Stones. Something tells me the journey to the shores of gold will be a lot more arduous than anticipated. And as such, I'll have to wait till next week. If you told me that my journey to the shores of gold would have me stumble upon the most heart-wrenching story in Sea of Thieves, I probably wouldn't have believed you. So far, we've been on what I would consider to be a fairly classic pirate adventure. We sailed the seas, we explored hidden tombs to find treasure, and defeated the vicious Captain Briggsy to steal her memories. Memories which we would need to find the Infinity Stones. With the Shroud Breaker assembled, it was time to put some magic into that bad boy. We're not gonna get to the shores of gold on goodwill alone, so our next course of action was to meet with yet another person whose name we siphoned out of Briggsy's head. One of these is gonna be a lot more saddening than the other, so what about we start with the happy one first? Though I would lie if I said that I felt happy having to sail through the dang storm in order to get there. Our first destination was the North Star Sea Post, home of a fella named Suds. But unfortunately, the journey over to him already presented some challenges. Oh, you're joking. In a storm, Rare, please.
Oh, what a great start.
We gotta get to the sea post. Fighting a fleet was definitely not how I wanted to start my day. Of course, Rare does not care about my comfort, so getting pummeled from every direction while in a storm with Brandon spawning on my ship naked just to get one shot was how our adventure began. I don't know why all of my Tall Tale sessions begin with us having to get dunked on by world events, and that's before we even started a Tall Tale. But we eventually arrived at the sea post to officially begin Stars of a Thief. Are you ready for this? No more chasing down skeletons. For this one, we're going to use the stars to guide us towards the first Infinity Stone. The good news is that with the stars in the sky and the book in our hands, we already have everything we need to get the job done. The bad news is that this was a bold-faced lie. As much as we got a pointer in the right direction, Suds did not want to part with his magical spyglass, which we need to do any of the aforementioned reading of stars. I guess he's kind of justified in that. We are pirates after all. We would use Briggsy's, but unfortunately hers was already broken and we kind of turned that into a compass to find and assassinate her. The only solution was to find another spyglass that was A, enchanted, and B, not broken. But selfish as Suds is, he did give us a hint as to where we could find one, and much to my surprise... Oh, Twin Rose is right next to us. That's very convenient, actually. A Tall Tale that doesn't have us traverse the entire map just to pick up a MacGuffin? Sign me the heck up! Contrary to my expectations, finding the chest on Twin Groves was actually no issue, with it only being protected by one measly skelly captain. But getting the spyglass was only one part of the equation. The real challenge was not getting our hands on it, but knowing how to use it.
I see one. I see a fire pit.
This is a shark.
I see an arrow. Which one are we looking for?
I don't know what we're looking for. So here's the thing about these Tall Tales. Most of them have different combinations of puzzles so that every time you do them, they end up feeling at least a tiny bit different. For Stars of a Thief in particular, there were pages upon pages of solutions on Rare Thief, and just looking at that page made me go, yeah, no, I'm not reading any of that. If I have to read a bunch of text anyway, I might as well read the actual book. And eventually, we found out that the story within speaks of an eagle, prompting us to sail in the direction of the Eagle constellation. Ignore the part where it literally gives us the name of the island. But the trick is that, in the story, it talks about how the eagle never landed on that island. In actuality, we had to go to a neighboring island off of Lonely Isle, which gave us our final destination, Lone Cove. From there on out, all we had to do was align the eagle with the rock so that it looks like the picture in the book, and once we dug at the spot where that was the case... Oh!
Wow.
Oh, is that already it? Is that what we need? No, that's... Oh,
hey,
no, it's not.
Tell over. Video's
No.
done. Let's go home.
Listen, unfortunately, I know that this is not it. They always make me think I'm already done, but it's actually just the beginning. Now, you would be forgiven to believe, since we are looking for magical gems, that this is one of the fabled Infinity Stones, but that will be too easy. It took me a second to realize, but obviously this gem is too big to fit into the Shroud Breaker. It is actually one out of 2 gems that we need to get access to the gem that does fit into the Shroud Breaker. You picking up what I'm putting down? Basically, we had to repeat the whole process all over again to get access to the second gem hidden away at a different island, at which point we would finally be ready to get our hands on the Infinity Stone. After a prerequisite amount of sailing, of course. Our final destination was an unmarked island that, while having sailed past it many times, I never suspected of holding any relevance. Diving beneath the waves, we found a secret passage leading to a cave. One thing I love about these Tall Tales is that even though I've played this game for a while, it keeps bringing me to locations that I didn't even know existed, and that's pretty cool. But there was no time for sightseeing. We slotted the gems into the statue, expecting it to spit out the Infinity Stone in return, but what we ended up getting definitely was not that. Ooh, what's this?
Crab totem.
No, not again. Why?
Go next.
God, why? Why do you make me do this again, Rare? Yeah, excuse my mental breakdown here for a second, but my brain was still processing the puzzle that I had to do last week. The good news is that the crab totem corresponded to the vault on the very island we were already on, so no sailing for us. Having learned from my mistake, Brandon and I took our time to decipher the puzzle before triggering the trap, by which I mean this is definitely why we had to use Google, because failing this part means you have to start over again. In my defense, we did try to do it on our own, but since Brandon and I share the same brain cell, we couldn't really make a heck of a lot of sense of it. But if you thought that made completing it any less exciting, then you'd be sorely mistaken. Okay, this is the first Infinity Stone. Let's go!
Heck yeah. Is this the Power Stone?
I hope so. I feel more powerful holding it. It finally felt like we began making real progress towards the shores of gold. We were so excited that even having to sail into the Skelly fleet did not take away from it. Also, let me just point out the irony of Suds refusing to lend us a spyglass, but us absolutely having to leave the Infinity Stone in his possession. But whatever, with a spring in our step and wind in our sails, we had worked up the momentum to continue on our journey and complete the next tall tale. Sanctuary Outpost was our destination, where we had to talk to a lady named Olive, not to be confused with Madame Olivia, who made out with Briggsy's skull. Actually, the names were those of Wild Rose and her fiancé George, but they're pirates, so they have better things to do than sit at an outpost all day. Olive is a friend of the two, meaning she's our best shot at getting an idea where they are, and oh no, she is also from the Order of Souls, and they don't usually deal with people of the living variety. Okay, let's not jump to conclusions. I'm sure that Rose and George are completely fine, and we can just ask them about the Infinity Stone. All we have to do is repeat the process by which we found Briggsy, get our hands on some of their belongings, and turn it into a magical compass. And while the first item was easily found, the book that Olive gave us was so full of what felt like random fluff that it was a bit difficult to discern what was actually important. Sometimes they mention islands that they like pass by in these stories.
No, this one specifically says we went to Sailor's Bounty and we picked up George.
Okay, but then that's not relevant, right? Because we're looking for items they left behind.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought we were just attending all of the islands.
Yeah, that one brain cell was coming in clutch. But before you give Brandon a hard time, it's not like I was without fault myself, because being the idiot that I am, I brought us to Lone Cove when our actual destination was Cannon Cove. Easy mistake to make. Arriving at Cannon Cove and gracefully ignoring the Ashen Winds event currently taking place on this island, we could finally strike gold and find another item belonging to the two lovebirds. Did you know that they were just about to get married before they went missing? The entire book that Olive gave us was full of lovely tales about how they met and grew together, making me dread the possibility of them not being alright. Our collectathon ended on Smuggler's Bay, where a lot of digging was necessary to locate the final item which we would need to craft the enchanted compass. Eatus, Skeetus.
Ow! Alright, back to the outpost. We got all we need. Oh.
We're both looking
This is
around.
hurting.
With a heavy sigh, we went back to Sanctuary Outpost to deliver the items we found. The compass that Olive crafted served its purpose and brought us to our destined location, it being Crescent Isle. But it didn't take long for me to realize that we were too late. I could spot a glint from afar already and knew what it meant. Rose was dead, and unlike us, she could not just come back from the Ferry of the Damned, because as it turned out, somebody was holding her soul captive. A fate worse than death. George and Rose were torn apart in life and kept separated even beyond the veil. I knew that we couldn't right this wrong, but the least we could do was delivering justice. So we sailed as far as we had to in order to fulfill our mission. And at last, the compass led us to where George was being held captive at the center of Sharkbait Cove. But little did I know that he was not alone. Captain Rook was his captor, greed and selfishness reeking out of every fiber of her being. I listened from afar, how she killed Rose and George alike, how she sacrificed her own mortality so that a certain Captain Greymarrow would bestow upon her the secrets of how to capture souls. But none of that mattered to me. All that mattered was getting her scrawny skeleton fingers off the pendant so that I could reunite George and Rose. And I think we all know how this fight ended. The victors write the history books, and with the final swing of my cutlass, this page was written.
He's mine.
I know that we were sent to find George and Rose so they can help us locate the next Infinity Stone, but more than anything, this tall tale just felt like doing the right thing. The two of them ended up reunited in the afterlife. Captain Rook would no longer be able to torment them, and we were free to move on to the next tall tale on our way to the shores of gold. Now, I can safely say that I have handled many a different kind of gunpowder keg in my time, but this is something else. Not only because I've never seen that before, but also because of all the trouble I had to go through in order to get my hands on it. My distaste for puzzle solving has been very well documented by now, but if I want to make it to the shores of gold, then well, it's a challenge I'll have to overcome. Little did I know at the start of our voyage how challenging this would be, but I was delighted to find out that I would finally get to sail with both of my crewmates on the mighty brigantine. Good morning, gentlemen. Are you ready for another tall tale?
No.
We got differing opinions here, I see. You'll love it in time. As you can see, we had varying levels of enthusiasm for the task at hand, but rest assured knowing that today would be different. Finally, we could leave behind the sloop in favor of the swift brigantine, which means we could cut our travel time down by a significant amount. And travel we did, right towards our first destination, Plunder Valley. I would celebrate the fact that there was no world event to dunk on us this time, but the island itself decided to bestow that inconvenience upon us anyway by attacking us completely unprovoked. Naturally, we couldn't leave a ship as big as this unprotected, so Brandon was on watch duty while Birdie and I tried to find whoever it was that we had to meet. And let me tell you, I did not expect that just finding this person would already be such an undertaking. It took us way longer to find our contact than I'm willing to admit, because as it turned out, that contact was a bit on the shorter end. Meanwhile, Birdie was trying to look around at the opposite end of the island, so I tried to guide him in my direction. By the way, if you've seen some of the past episodes, you'll know that Birdie and I are in a bit of a pranking feud where we try to blow each other up using gunpowder kegs. We would only later find out how fitting that contest was for our task at hand, but for now...
I knew you'd do that.
I don't know what you expected to happen, to be honest. Another W for the Master of Kegs. The only thing more painful than getting blown up, however, was having to listen to this bird.
Polly got a bargain. Polly got a bargain.
That's hard to listen to.
Sounds even worse in my Bluetooth headphones right now.
Buy from a talking parrot.
This is really hard to listen to, dude. Yeah, Birdie's emergency Bluetooth headphones definitely didn't sound great. Not to mention whatever the heck they did to this other bird's poor voice. But whatever, we had a puzzle to solve and no time to waste. Deep it lies, near bird of stone, stories told and lifeless bone. So we're looking for skeletons.
Oh, I found that 2 minutes ago.
Oh, really? Let's go.
Yeah.
And so we went. Despite the warnings in the comment section imploring me to use a guide for this tall tale, the two of us are making great progress on our own. All we had to do was read whatever story the book told us and then make it so the skeletons replicated what was said. Also, let me just point out that at this stage, Rare Thief has foregone the writing of solutions for the tall tale and replaced them with videos. If I was already too lazy to read the solutions for Stars of a Thief, do you really think I'd sit down to watch videos instead? Yeah, fat chance of that. Not like the puzzles were very difficult anyway. Once all the skeletons were moved in position, a cage began lowering itself, granting us access to a special spyglass as well as some additional notes. These notes consisted of another poem that we had to decipher, together with a map that triangulated the position of something we had to find. Brandon was still stuck watching after the ship, so I was definitely making a point to complete this part of our journey as quickly as possible so that he didn't die of boredom. And the Trapmaker's mark was easily found, except that I didn't quite understand what I had to do from here on out.
Where are you? What does yours look like?
It's looking towards a broken ship.
Well, mine is... You see me up here?
Yes?
I think you're standing on top of the same thing that I am. Look, get your spyglass out.
Oh.
Mine is pointing that way.
Mine's pointing this direction.
Should we just drink and see what happens?
See, stand and drink in the view. Stone's location spoken to you. I mean, I can drink, I guess. I got a grog. Needless to say that getting drunk did absolutely nothing. Nothing useful anyway. At that stage, I definitely began to understand why everybody implored me to use a guide for this, but against our better judgment, we continued scouring the island to see if we can find it on our own. As it turned out, this tall tale requires more than a single brain cell to complete, and my biggest mistake was not trying to do it without a guide, but telling the only guy who brought 2 functioning brain hemispheres to stay on the ship.
I found a Trapmaker marking.
Around the ship?
It's where I'm standing right now.
Did you leave the ship?
I did. But I'm up top, so I can still see the horizon.
So that's a new one.
You're welcome. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Ah! Cliff, come here. Rum and gold, drown my grief, fairy, fern, accused thief.
Is this it?
Well, come towards me. More, a lot more. Stop. Back up a little bit.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
okay, here we go. Yeah, definitely not us taking an entire in-game day to make progress on a single step towards a puzzle. Thankfully, Brandon was surprisingly competent today, opening our eyes so that we finally made sense of why we found so many Trap Maker's markings, which made finding the remaining clues very easy. In fact, Birdie didn't even need me to guide him towards the final dig, though we were about to learn how the Trap Maker got his title in the first place.
Got it.
Nice.
Oh god, what is this?
What was that?
Oh,
Birdie? Birdie?
wait, is it ticking down?
Can I juggle this?
Is it ticking down?
There's explosions coming?
So I left a surprise for you.
Oh god,
I
oh god.
left a surprise
Juggle it.
for you.
Juggle this.
We find the key to the workshop here.
Yeah, what a surprise. Thank you, Trap
The door
Maker.
it opens lies elsewhere.
Yeah, nothing like giving us a gunpowder keg and then detonating more kegs to blow it up. That Trap Maker definitely didn't get this title for nothing. Thankfully, I managed to outrun the, and may I add, very loud explosions, which Birdie somehow did not hear, making me wonder why he panicked in the first place. Did you not hear the explosions?
No.
Bro! So is this like a keg?
I think it's a key.
That Bluetooth headphone of his somehow managed to make an already clueless Birdie even more clueless. But whatever, we finally had the keg, which is a key, apparently? Further instructions had been very clear about us having to bring it to Sailor's Bounty, and you know, we weren't entirely sure whether this key in keg form could actually blow up. And after how long it took us to get that, none of us were eager enough to find out. We definitely made a point to try and avoid any danger, whether that be other pirates or an encroaching storm. But of course, as is so often the case, the biggest danger to our success is our own stupidity.
How do you switch which item you're holding without opening the menu?
Scroll wheel?
No, I meant like, okay, so I'm holding a coconut, but
Yeah.
I have a banana in my inventory.
You hit
How do I
3
change that
again.
with-
Hit 3 again.
3.
You didn't
Done.
know that?
I did not know that.
Oh.
He also didn't know that rock was right there when we're carrying a keg.
Listen, nobody talks about that rock, it's fine. Is that another rock?
Don't worry about it, we're good.
This is really not the time to be doing what we're doing right here.
We're also heading right towards the ship, and we're gonna hit a rock in a second.
Again? What is happening, Birdie?
This ship is really fast, bro.
It is, yeah. First world problems at its finest. We went from slogging our way through the tall tales to zooming across the map, but speed would not help us with the next problem. Somebody was already at Sailor's Bounty, and well, let's just say I'd rather avoid combat with a keg on board. I simply asked that crew if they needed more time on the island or if we could have the parking to do our tall tale, and thankfully they just finished their business here. I shared an unseasoned piece of pork chop with the lad to show my gratitude before going back to my crew so that we can progress on our journey. Now, I wish I could tell you that, after literal years of playing together, that the three of us have built something of a dynamic, but contrary to expectation, both of these idiots just ran ahead into what was obviously going to be a cave littered in traps. I was not going to juggle my way past any of these just to be careful, meaning it would have been very handy to have them around in case I die to the traps so they can revive me. But you know, that would make too much sense. Okay.
You see the problem now?
I'm not very good with these.
I just sprinted right through.
Well, I can't sprint with the item in my hands, can I?
Look with that, Cliff.
Yeah, it also feels like holding this halves my FOV.
Oh.
So I need one of you guys to come back.
Why?
Well, in case I die so you can res me.
Where are you?
I'm in middle of all these blades, and if I die, somebody needs to res me.
I'm in a different part of the cave than I think you're in.
I'm in another realm.
Brandon, come back.
I'm on the berry. I'm coming back.
You died?
I got shanked.
Why would you spawn a gunpowder keg in a cave?
Our lack of coordination rivaled even that of an open crew. Instead of us trying to get through this as a unit so that we can be each other's insurance, the two of them preferred to do it the hard way while I slowly and securely made my way past the traps. Through some grace of God, we did eventually make it into the final chamber with the Trapmaker's keg intact, meaning completion was within reach. For the next part, the three of us would have to fight waves upon waves of fairly tanky skeletons while surrounded by traps. The key? We are in control of activating them. A crew with any semblance of team play is going to be able to coordinate hitting the traps at the right time to take out most of the skeletons in the arena, but because we are anything but that... What about this? One is on the right side, one's on the left side, and I'm gonna stay here between these... Did you actually just do that?
Brandon! Okay, so we figured out what the things do.
Okay, so we all stay in our corners and we just spam these levers. Starts?
Brandon!
It's okay.
You freaking troll. That's what you get. You deserve that 100%.
I did.
Trying to kill me and you played yourself, bud.
Oh, ugh.
Oh, thanks, Brandon.
I wish I could tell you we did this in one go, but that would most assuredly be a bold-faced lie. Eventually, and I mean much later, the boss of this gauntlet would finally grace us with their presence, allowing us to kick in what remains of their teeth to finally be able to get the heck out of this godforsaken place. But let's not forget that this is a tall tale made by Rare. Of course, that captain did not spit out the Infinity Stone, but instead another totem. Would you be surprised if I told you that we have to go to another vault? Thankfully, the wind was about as much in our favor as we could expect, making the trip a breeze. All of us were longing for an end to this tall tale. Granted, most of our suffering was a result of our own incompetence, but alas, Crescent Isle was our final destination. You've seen us open enough vaults up until this point, the only difference being that Brandon was trying to sabotage us once again. Guess he wanted to become the next trap maker. Speaking of which, the actual trap maker still wasn't done with us yet.
I don't think we're gonna get any clues, are we?
I salute you, pirate, but heed this warning. Take it for the glory, never for the greed. I concede the game. I've no more tricks up my sleeves. Okay, well, let's go.
Yep.
Oh,
Oh, that was really difficult.
there's nothing here.
No, there's no way.
There's actually nothing here.
Yes, there is.
Wait, this dude is holding? Oh, Shroud Breaker. Oh, God, of course, Rare. There's no... Aha, I see. Okay.
I brought that.
Captain of the vault.
Hey, he's dead now.
PR.
Medallion number 1, let's go. Karma at its finest. Rare was not done bestowing more surprises upon us, but when it comes to slaughtering skeletons, we have become exceedingly efficient at it. Once all 3 captains were defeated and all the medallions were in place, we were finally free to go and deliver the second Infinity Stone. There is only one more to go until we can set sail towards the shores of gold, and I hope that you are as excited as I am to finally bring the story to a satisfying conclusion. If you've been playing Sea of Thieves for a while, chances are that you have at least heard of the Fort of the Damned. What's unique about that place is that it houses a world event that can be triggered by players rather than spawning at random. Now, what if I told you that there was another way to summon a boss that didn't involve said Fort of the Damned? Are you surprised? Because I definitely was. Turns out that in order to get to the shores of gold, we had to defeat one vicious Captain Grey Marrow. Except that we couldn't just roll up to the Fort of the Damned and do it there. This involved a whole process of tracking down disguises, getting information, and finding ancient relics in order to force him onto the mortal plane. And trust me when I say that, this Captain Grey Marrow took a lot more to defeat than the puny ghost version at the FOTD. We had a long way ahead of us, so we were keen to get that show on the road, though much to our surprise, to get this party started, we had to do the one thing that we usually try to avoid. You guys are not gonna like to hear this. So we gotta die for the next part. Yeah, nothing quite like trying our darndest to survive the trap maker just to be told to off ourselves in order to make more progress. Thankfully, dying is what we do best, so we collectively blunderbound ourselves onto the Sea of the Damned. This is usually where I would give you a narrative rundown of why we have to do the things we're about to do, but much to our misfortune, this tall tale was bugged.
It's not letting me vote, Cliff. It let me vote for the last one. Why won't it let me vote for this one?
What if you and I leave, Bird? Cliff votes for it, and then we come back.
Not a great way to start our mission. Both of my crewmates had to leave the game for me to be able to start the tall tale, and that also meant that I was the only one who got to listen to the ferryman's ramblings. He's talking. And, none of you are here. All on my lonesome. So, remember how we saved the souls of George and Rose from eternal torment? Yeah, turns out our soul-saving reputation precedes us because the ferryman wants us to do something similar. George was not the only one stuffed into an inanimate object, so we had to go and find the souls of the crew of the Morning Star to free them as well. Wait, what does that have to do with us trying to summon Grey Marrow? Right, Grey Marrow was the weirdo who taught Briggsy how to do the soul stuffing in the first place, so it is reasonable to assume that finding their souls is going to help us track him down to take his Infinity Stone. With that many steps to our goal, I was fairly certain that Rare was not gonna try to pad the content out with a bunch of sailing, but unfortunately for me, oh my god, guys, that's the other end of the map.
Let's go.
Like literally, it's northeast at the other end of the map. Boy, howdy, was I ever glad about being on a brigantine. The journey was far, but the wind was in our favor, allowing us to make haste towards our first destination, Marauder's Arch. Technically speaking, the crew of the Morningstar found their demise at Kraken's Fall, but we had to come here first to obtain an item that would help us locate their souls. I really wish we could have just hired the Order of Souls to do the dirty work for us, but well, it was all hands on deck, nasty as it felt, to dig up the ferryman's physical body. I wasn't wasn't excited about it, but he gave me permission, and to do what he asked of us, we definitely need the magical lantern that he was buried with. One trip into Crosswind later, and we were ready to begin our first day as Phantom Detectives, except that combat was not part of the job description. Oh, immediately found something.
Oh, hey.
We should probably do something about that. And do something we did. Trying to split our attention as effectively as possible, I continued uncovering clues to find out what happened to the crew of the Morningstar, while Birdie went to take care of the skeleton, with Brandon staying on the ship. Not to look after it or anything, but as punishment for killing us on purpose during the Trapmaker Gauntlet. But only because one has a plan does not mean that one can execute it.
You guys gonna take care of that?
Yeah, I'm almost there. I have to like go down and then back up to get to him. There's like no straight path to him. Alright, Cliff, where are you?
Follow my voice.
I don't know where you are.
I mean, neither do I. I'm just following footsteps.
This might kill me. It did. I don't know if I'm anywhere near you.
No, you're not. Good luck. Yep, this was going about as well as I had expected it to. Alas, we had achieved our goals with some amount of difficulty involved. The skeleton was defeated, and me following the footsteps led to more clues. Greymarrow was not a romantic type, because instead of using a pendant, he just stuffed the souls of his victims into crude boxes while telling his minions to throw the key away. But thanks to the ferryman's magical lantern, I could retrace those steps in order to get my hands on that which was never meant to be found. Though in my infinite wisdom, I had leapt off the mountaintop without considering the location of the box corresponding to this key. I was hoping Birdie would make just as much progress as me, seeing as how we had to find and save a total of 3 souls, but he beckoned me over to help him solve his part of the mystery.
There's something here, look.
Maybe it's a drag mark? Let's follow the drag marks. Maybe that's where they brought the chest.
Oh, yeah, here we go, okay.
Okay, yeah, now we're going somewhere. That's 2 different...
Alright.
Okay, I'm gonna leave the key here so we can follow the 2 different paths. I'll go left, you go right?
Oh, okay.
I found a second key?
Okay. I found the chest.
Oh, nice. It's as I like to say, 2 idiots are better than 1. With the first key and chest combo taken care of, and that soul having been freed, Birdie could now help me with my missing chest to make that too. Turns out that the chest, just like the key I found before, was not atop the mountain, and after a bit of searching, the second duo would be reunited as well. I gotta say that this process was not anywhere near as involved as all this voodoo magic to break the curse. All we had to do was open the box and give them a pat on the back to send them to the ferryman. We were making great progress and only had 1 more crew member to go before we could finally leave this place. And dang, he definitely got the short end of the stick when it comes to their means of execution. Oh yeah, did I mention yet that freeing their souls always gave us some really awkward voice lines that felt like they came out of nowhere? Yeah, as you can hear, voices. Bit of a weird artistic choice there. I'd much prefer to have a bit of a face-to-face with the people we saved, but whatever. We had fulfilled our end of the bargain, so it was time to return to the ferryman and claim our payment. Even more bafflingly, the people we saved were waiting for us at the Ferry of the Damned, so there really was no reason why we had to listen to disembodied voices before. Now this is where it gets really funny, because the crew of the Morningstar were like, hey, thanks for saving us. By the way, we have no clue where you can find Greymarrow. But just as we were about to stuff them back into the boxes, they told us that in life they knew somebody who might be able to help us out. Unfortunately, these people are not gonna tell us anything unless they think we are the crew of the Morningstar, which means we had to find out where they sank and hope that they had a change of clothes on that shipwreck that survived. Had I known it takes this many steps to summon Greymarrow, chances are I would not have gotten out of bed in the first place, but alas, no amount of complaining is gonna make our situation better, so onward we went towards Daggertooth Outpost. Hey, wanna know what's even funnier than Rare sending us to the worst outpost in the entire game? The Tall Tale's still being bugged.
I can't vote for it!
Oh, God.
Alt F4.
I started to feel like Birdie was just making that up so he wouldn't have to listen to all the exposition that this NPC was about to throw at us. The lady was giving us a bit of a rundown about why we should be scared of Greymarrow, and I mean, I don't remember asking for her opinion. Anyway, we were 1 step closer to summoning the big guy himself, with our next destination being Boulder Key. I mean K. Key. It's K. It says K, it should be pronounced K.
It's spelled in ye olde English.
Well, ye olde English can suck one, because It says K, not key. Boulder K, let's go.
Boulder Key, let's go.
I'm gonna call it Boulder Koi just to be different.
And as such, onward we went towards Boulder Koi. We arrived in the middle of the night to the tune of a whole bunch of phantoms fighting a skelly captain, and fortunately for us, said captain gave us a map which allowed us to dig up a stronghold gunpowder keg. These things deal a ton of damage, meaning it is the perfect weapon to use against Grey Marrow. But for now, we had to dive down to the shipwreck to find some clues as to the whereabouts of our cosplay. Said cosplay was not actually on the ship at the time of sinking, allowing me to dig up a completely dry set of clothing from the island itself. We were dressed up for the part and ready to uncover how the heck we can finally summon Grey Marrow, though unlike the actual crew of the Morning Star, we intended to be prepared. Of course these idiots couldn't beat him because they didn't bring any Disney sticks. Thankfully, there was a treasury not too far away from Boulder Koi, meaning we could go and stock up in no time at all, though as things would have it, of course it was never meant to be that easy.
Alright guys, here we go.
Oh, come on.
Perfectly timed. Said nobody ever.
We just got dressed for the occasion. Yeah, okay, way to mitigate our attempt to cheese your encounter, Rare. I don't mind Karen so much when I'm on a sloop, but fighting the brigantine version of the soon-to-be takoyaki was more of a pain in the butt than I had the nerve to deal with. Especially when that stupid thing started to yeet me across the map. Of course, I heroically kept fighting to defeat the Kraken by any means possible. Though I could only hope that being drenched as well as covered in ink was not gonna take away from the quality of our cosplay. I'm convinced that there's one developer sitting at Rare HQ ready to press the Summon AI Enemies button whenever we are about to do anything worthwhile, because the Kraken had literally turned us around to face us away from the shrine. But naturally, that was never going to stop us from stocking up on Disney sticks anyway, which, including the Kraken fight, has been enough of a distraction for us to forget why we were on this mission in the first place.
What is the next step anyway? Where are we going?
Sanctuary Outpost. We gotta fool some tavern keep into believing we're from the Morning Star.
So we have to push E, and then they're gonna tell us everything we want to know anyway.
Yep, and that's more exposition, I guess. Now, you might believe that, in light of our snarky comments, we had seen through the formula of this tall tale, but in a twist that surprised even us, Rare did not deliver on our expectations. Does she not have voiced dialogue, or are we doing something wrong?
Nope, she sure don't.
We dressed up for this? There's not even dialogue? Yeah, it turns out that none of the people we had to squeeze for information had voiced dialogue at all. Dialogue that didn't even make sense because there's no such thing as an island called Sinking Cove. Okay, at that stage, with how many bugs we had already encountered, I was not convinced that this is how that was meant to go. So on to Rare Thief I went to confirm that we were still on the right track. And we were, though to understand why I dreaded the next part of our tall tale, you're going to need a behind-the-scenes glance.
Yo, why is this all written in kanji now? I don't like this.
True. You see, I've been trying to learn Japanese for the past 4 months, and among the myriad of things to complain about, the one thing I absolutely hate with a passion is one of the 3 scripts they use. Kanji. Hiragana is something along the lines of our basic alphabet. Katakana is the same thing but edgy, and kanji is what happens when you let old people decide that young people have to suffer as much as them. It's like the ancient Chinese version of Zoomers communicating in emojis. Back to our problem at hand. We had to defeat Grey Marrow's minions, who would then give us his orders, which had been written in the Sea of Thieves version of kanji. Except they actually make more sense than kanji. So with a screenshot of the translation page on one monitor and the book on the other, I began translating this nonsense. Captain Skull from Kraken, from Rock. Kraken Rock, face. Kraken Rock, face. Yeah, that's about how I sound speaking Japanese as well. But anyway, eventually all that stuff would translate into a guide on how to find the first relic. I also had the epiphany about the NPC trying to send us to Sinking Cove. It was a combination of the 2 destinations, Cannon Cove and Sunken Grove. At that point, we had been at this tall tale for hours whilst looking like absolute clowns, and you can be sure that our patience was growing thin. So we went and slaughtered the next minion before going for another round of translating. And finally, we completed our laundry list. But it gets better, because not only did this tall tale start at the worst outpost in the game, it was supposed to end at the worst island in the game as well. Old Faithful Isle was home to one of the abandoned skeleton fortresses where we could conduct a summoning ritual, meaning all we had to do now was get our Disney sticks in position before calling upon the Hour of Twilight. You down for another behind-the-scenes glance? I figured I could use the time the boys took to move the Disney sticks to set up a cool thumbnail, but unfortunately, we hadn't encountered enough bugs just yet.
Stall ladder? Where?
Yeah, on me. I'm climbing it right now.
I don't mean to alarm you guys, but the chalice disappeared. Certified not good moment.
This better not be how we get rare today.
In my attempt to stage a thumbnail, Rare decided to simply swallow one of the artifacts we needed to complete our tall tale. Panic was written all over us as we scrambled to find the chalice, but there was nothing, not even a glint. But don't despair, for this was still within expected tolerances. That's right, my friends, because it is current year, and Rare has bestowed upon us the magic of checkpoints. We could simply flip the tall tale and get our items restored. Oh,
Right.
Thank the Lord, they're back.
Oh, 900 IQ, let's go.
Alright, good job, man. Grab the chalice. Can you believe checkpoints weren't always a thing for tall tales?
Bro, I can't imagine.
Unfortunately for us, the story didn't end there, because as much as Rare giveth, Rare very readily takes away. Wait. They changed our location.
Oh, we gotta go somewhere else?
Can we just keep flipping it until we get the same one again?
Let's try.
And so we went, flipping the tall tale time and time and time again. It took us so long to get the correct location that by the time we had it, the island was repopulated with a bunch of AI enemies. But at last, we could finally place the artifacts on the altar and summon Greymarrow to beat the ever-living snot out of him once he shows up. Because no boss fight will be complete without the boss spending an extended period of time taunting you whilst not being attackable. At that stage, let me mention that our record for killing his ghostly version at the Fort of the Damned was 93 seconds. And let me also add a spoiler in that this fight took a lot longer. Not only that, but he also immediately started spamming area of effect attacks, which blew up our stronghold gunpowder keg, which up until that point we had kind of forgotten existed. Now I wish I could splice together some kind of epic narrative, but I mean, it's a boss fight in Sea of Thieves. The dude had a ton of HP, kept summoning minions for us to deal with, and continued to spam aforementioned AoE move. And after a painfully drawn out fight in which we dumped truckloads of damage into him, yes,
Easy.
we finally got it! The final Infinity Stone! God, it's been a long way, boys. We had done it. We defeated Captain Greymarrow, and all we had to do now was deliver the stone to the shipwright so that she could finish our Shroud Breaker, meaning we finally reached the end game.
Juge said.
Morrow's Peak.
Yup.
You know what that means, boys? Next week, onto the shores of gold. Let's go. After loads of traps, puzzles, riddles, and exposition, oh my god, there was so much exposition, we are finally ready to finish this journey. At long last, it is time to embark onto the shores of gold to defeat the final boss of Sea of Thieves. But before we could enter his golden cage to take the fight to the source, we had to prepare. There were more puzzles for us to complete, and if the last 8 tall tales were not enough to convince you, let me assure you that the challenge ahead was not gonna be an easy one. I gathered my crew for a bit of a pep talk because the stakes were never higher. All I'm asking of you guys is that we stick together, nobody runs ahead, and we do everything together. Every puzzle, every combat encounter, we're sticking together.
Well, that doesn't sound like fun.
It sounds like us surviving and actually doing this.
All I'm gonna say is, I didn't do it.
Taking responsibility was never our strong suit, but alas, this was my crew, and unfortunately, it was not gonna get any better than that. To start the tall tale, we had to talk to some random NPC at Morrow's Peak that I never heard of before, and the game did this annoying thing where they show you a character just to tell you how badass they are, when in actuality, all they do is stand there and talk. Needless to say that none of us were impressed, so long that she put the Shroud Breaker on our ship, that's all that we wanted. And frankly, we had better things to do. You know what we should do, instead of listening to this person?
Leave.
A ship makeover. And that's exactly what we did, with a destination as coveted as the shores of gold. It was only fitting for the Rocinante to also look the part. We were glad to sail on a brigantine, more storage to hold the piles of gold that we intended to bring back, gold that some of us already began spending. In anticipation of our payout, Birdie was dumping hundreds of thousands of gold on ship decorations, while Brandon and I were getting the ship ready for our departure. And depart we did. The anchor was raised at the crack of dawn to finally begin our adventure. Now, you would assume that working towards this goal for the past few weeks would bring some level of enthusiasm to the crew, but contrary to expectation, said crew was not even fully aware of what we were doing.
Where are we going, by the way?
North.
Wait, are we going to the Shores of Gold?
Yeah, that's the whole point of today.
Oh, poggers. I didn't realize we were already going in.
What do you mean already? It took us weeks.
He's like, wait, this hasn't been that long.
I figured we would have to do something before we could go.
Well, we have done 8 tall tales worth of things to get this little thing on the ship, so that we can actually go there.
We did 8 tall tales before this one.
You see this? You see this thing, Birdie?
Okay,
this,
never
over
mind.
there?
You know what? I'm just not.
That's what we worked for 8 tall tales.
Yes. thing with
Yup.
the stones and the Shroud Breaker. Yeah.
If this is how we bickered before even getting to the shores of gold, then I don't want to know how much worse it's gonna get once we are there. But the bickering stopped once the water turned red with the blood of the fallen. Wait, sorry, wrong game. Yeah, entering the Red Sea is definitely always a bit of a scary proposition. We knew that in theory we should be safe, but that did not stop us from hunkering around the Shroud Breaker to watch it do its magic.
I'm actually a little concerned this isn't doing anything.
Isn't there supposed to be like something happening?
Oh, wait, no,
Oh,
it's
there we go.
doing something.
It is clap activated. It's good to get confirmation on our weeks of work not being for nothing. The Shroud Breaker did in fact break the shroud and allowed us to make way towards our destination. Though as much as we appreciated the magic that protected our ship, it also made it really difficult to see what's in front of us. And let's just say that parking was not Birdie's strong suit.
Alright, I think we are no longer beached.
You can get into this bay if you stay close to the spiky rock.
No.
You can, I can see from here.
This water is way too shallow.
No, we got this.
Now look at close to the spiky rock.
Get it.
Yeah, where we are right now is fine.
Now, would you be surprised if I told you that it took the entire evening just to get the ship parked? It took us so long, in fact, that I wanted to take a little break and wait for daytime before we embark on our adventure. And of course, this was the perfect opportunity for things to immediately go horribly wrong.
I'm stuck and I can't black screen. I don't know how to get out.
Brandon, how did you get up here?
I climbed.
Did you go off on your own again? Guys, what did I just say about sticking together? What are you doing?
Well, Brandon's the one that freaking... Let's clip. I have to go save Brandon now. He went off on his own.
Oh my god.
It's not my fault. He freaking climbed up here like a freaking horse from Skyrim.
I don't know why I expected anything else. So the Brandon rescue mission definitely did not go as planned, because neither of us knew how the heck he Skyrimmed his way up there. Firebombs were his only way out of that misery, but once we were all united, we could finally begin venturing deeper into the shores of gold. Which, by the way, these particular shores could not be any less gold if they tried. But the gold must be somewhere, so we began digging into the book that was given to us at Morrow's Peak. Birdie deduced that there are a total of 4 vaults we need to clear in order to get our hands on 4 medallions. Medallions which, presumably, will open the way towards the riches that we came here for in the first place. The only problem was that Birdie was not very good at multitasking. Skeletons kept coming at us and we had to defend our captain who insisted on standing in the same spot whilst reading. Eventually, we got tired of all that hostility and looked for shelter, accidentally stumbling upon what appeared to be the first vault. But it didn't take long for us to understand that without the information in the book, we were not gonna get far in solving this puzzle. Birdie, are you coming or not?
Where are you? Why are you guys over there?
We told you like 18 times we're going in because it's getting hostile out there.
Yeah, but I don't think that's where we need to go.
It literally is.
But we have to go to all these vaults eventually. That's the closest one. Just get your over here.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Can you believe this guy?
Imagine listening.
Right?
Imagine not listening to the guy that actually read the book.
Well, you can prove your reading abilities once we're in here. Not go to the opposite end of the island first. Turns out we had very different ideas of what it means to be efficient. Alas, our captain finally graced us with his presence and we could begin making progress on the puzzle. So this one was pretty interesting because upon lighting the braziers, instead of being met with a rising flood of water, we were given a map that highlighted several locations on the shores of gold. We swiftly deduced that since the book did not give us any clues as to which other symbols we needed to complete this puzzle, that the locations on the map show us the solution. Since this appeared to be a static puzzle, of course we could have saved ourselves the trouble and just googled the solution. But because we are real gamers, we instead came up with a very sophisticated way to complete this challenge.
It looked kind of like a fire pit. Does that sound right?
Is there a fire pit, Brandon?
Let me check. Number 4 has a fire pit.
It has a fire pit!
Okay, put fire pit at number 4.
Put fire pit at number 4.
I put fire pit on number 4.
He put fire pit at number 4. Now that's what I call gaming, and with our efforts combined, we could successfully complete the first puzzle to claim our first medallion. Now it made sense to Brandon and me that the 3 of us should reconvene after achieving this grand feat. We followed Birdie's tracks along a mountain path, though we couldn't help but feel like he was running away from us. Obviously, we didn't know where the heck we were going because our captain was the one who read the book, but once we reached the first plateau, it dawned on us that he actually was running away from us. Distant shouting of the degenerate variety followed us as Brandon and I decided to say screw it and explore the island on our own. Our ankles were feeling pretty sturdy that day, cushioning a pretty high fall before carrying us ever onward. And after a bunch more walking, the 2 of us were closing in on the second vault. I cautiously approached to try and figure out what we had to do here, but unfortunately for me, this place brought back some dark memories. Hello darkness, my old friend. I think we know exactly where this is going. And here's what we're gonna do, Brandon. Only one of us tries to move pictures at a time, And if one of us dies, the other gotta res them, okay?
Okay.
I have been impaled often enough to know that this was not gonna be a fun time. According to the book, our goal was to match 4 of the same picture on each of the pillars, which does appear to be simple enough, was it not for the traps around us. And let's just say that these traps were not playing fair.
Oh, what? They were down.
Okay, I'm just gonna wait for this. Oh, come on. Oh, shit! Okay. Okay. So I feel like this has a lingering hitbox.
Yes,
Wait solidly until it's gone.
What?
There was literally nothing there. Okay.
Alright, I'm not gonna move from this location now.
I really hope Birdie's doing better than us.
I have no idea what to do with this.
I'll try to get the last one and not bite the dust. Whoop! Okay.
Why are there 4 symbols on each circle and only 3 pillars activated? Stupid.
Okay, it's not mermaid.
How? Is it? It's not boat either, right?
Okay, it's snake then.
It is snake, yeah, okay. I'm hitting it. Of course we have to. Of course we have to do multiple of them. Why wouldn't we have to do multiple of them, Brandon?
I'll go over.
Okay, we just went at the same time. That could have been disastrous.
Yeah, that's scary. Nice.
Thank God they only made us do 2. Do I trust this?
I don't know.
Okay.
Here, I'll get out of here first. Go ahead.
Okay. After a lot of trial and error, we had gotten our hands on a grand total of 3 medallions. Birdie must have finished his vault before us because he had enough time to find the cave where we had to bring them. And because Brandon needed a bathroom break anyway, we decided to let him deliver the coins while Birds and I went to parkour our way towards the final vault. The 2 of us wanted to wait so that we could do the final puzzle together, but Brandon did not seem like he'd be back anytime soon. So into the final vault we went. Thankfully, this was the easiest of the 4. All we had to do was align the pillars so that they would mimic the picture of the key that we found in the cave. Definitely the most uneventful puzzle on the Shores of Gold so far. After reuniting with Brandon, we made way towards the medallion cave, and let me tell you, the real puzzle was finding your way around this island. This has not been very well designed if you ask me.
It's like the pirates didn't make this island to be very accessible.
Actually, I think the ancients made this.
I don't think they made the island, but yeah.
Well, they lived here, clearly, right? That's a good question, actually. I have not been very diligent when it comes to explaining the importance of the Shores of Gold, and that's because I don't actually know a heck of a lot about it. All I do know is that we're here to make boatloads of gold. Man, if only I knew somebody who was very knowledgeable about the lore of this game.
Hey Cliff, you beautiful buccaneer, don't worry, I've got this. So the Shores of Gold was named as such by the pirate lord, but its real name is Tribute Peak. It's currently uninhabited by one very disgruntled gentleman called the Gold Hoarder. Even though we've killed him twice and he keeps coming back, but let's just ignore that part. He was once known as Wrathbone when he was human and a member of the Pirate Lord's crew. He got greedy, very greedy, cursed him. Now he's very sad. But Tribute Peak is also the vault, as it were, for the ancients before they fled this land and went for an eternal party in the Sea of the Damned. It's kind of like a sea fort, but for good people, inhabited by a bad person. Why can't people make good forts in this game? Anyway, it's the biggest island in Sea of Thieves, and you'll only ever use it once, or 5 times, if you want to look like you've had an accident with gold paint. I mean, yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Back to you, Cliff.
Alas, none of that was gonna change the fact that we had a lot of walking to do. You can be dang sure that we anticipated the payout to be worthy of all the work we had to do to get it, but when we slotted the final medallion into the tablet, all we ended up getting was a single coin. You know what that means, right? We were not done yet. Well, at least we finally got our hands on something golden at the Shores of Gold, and if this massive coin was a sign for what's to come, then surely the final payment should be substantial. Finding it was our job now. The only hint we were given was a throne, and I mean, we found plenty of those around in the form of these monuments, but no idea what to do to proceed. Oh, entrance?
Oh, Brandon, come here.
We can't light these. It wasn't gonna be as simple as lighting a brazier this time. The best idea we had was trying to parkour our way up the broken monument to enter it from the top, though it did take me a minute to realize how much of a waste of time that was. Wait, what are we doing? Why don't we just use the ship?
What do you mean by that?
Cannon fire?
Oh.
I'll go first, and I'll tell you how to adjust it. Because inevitably, this is not gonna be it. Actually, I'm on top. You can nudge it a tiny bit higher, and you should have it.
Well, I landed right here. Oh, Cliff.
Is that it?
This is it.
Okay. Nice.
Brandon, cannon.
There's a lever here. It was that simple. Okay, cool. It sure is funny how simple these things appear once you have figured them out. The coin we have obtained earlier slotted into some kind of contraption, just like the medallions themselves, opening the way towards our destiny. The last thing between us and the vast riches of the shores of gold was this cave, though if you know us, you also know that caves are not exactly our strong suit. Off to a great start. Wait, oh no!
Oh,
It spawns us in the... I got shanked, guys, help.
Wait, come back.
I got shanked again, help.
Oh,
Hey, Ferryman, how's it going?
it's gonna be a long one. I'm not gonna run through the second one like the bozo this time.
Like that?
I'm not ending it.
It's got some Zenyatta level hitboxes.
It really does, yeah.
Alright, I'm a parkour master.
Bye-bye, Birdie.
We'll wait for you. Just don't stop, never stop.
Okay. Try and jump, yeah, jump over.
Yeah, don't touch them. There's a second lever over there. I'll try to go there.
Oh.
All hands on deck.
Ooh.
Wait, Birdie, don't go in. That's a weird looking skelly. But there's gold. Like, lots of it.
Ooh, do we keep all this?
Check this out. Is it like the vaults? Can you pick it up?
We're gonna need a bigger boat.
I can't pick it up. Hello.
Oh, well, here we go.
Oh.
Okay. It seems like we had found our nemesis. The only one who stood between us and the vast riches of the shores of gold was the gold hoarder. And you can be dang sure that we had every intention to rip every last gold piece out of his scrawny hands. Though it wasn't gonna be easy, he had a dangerous moveset including tossing gold coins to summon minions, an area of effect gold splash that pushes us away, and he could disappear into a pile of gold at will to reappear somewhere else. Which basically means he's a Mr. Beast reskin of Grey Marrow. And since we have already defeated Grey Marrow, yeah, we were not gonna give this guy any respect whatsoever.
Hey, remember when we said we should have brought Disney sticks?
Yeah, you know what? Hindsight 2020. Do you have confidence in us being able to do all the previous things with the Disney sticks in hand?
I do now. Yeah, there he goes.
He's doing the Mr. Beast Twitter giveaway again.
That was perhaps the most unceremonious death I've ever seen. Well, unceremonious as that death was, this was it, right? We thought at that stage we could just grab as much gold as we could carry and sail back home without ever having to worry about money ever again. But little did we know what it was that we actually conquered.
What's happening?
This is mine now.
Birdie's the new Lich King.
Oh,
Oh no. Oh, come on.
I don't want to be here anymore.
Seriously? Our reward is exposition? Now, if you thought that going through all this trouble just to get lectured by a knockoff Santa Claus was a disappointment, then just you wait, because it gets worse. The dude told us a whole bunch of stuff that we didn't ask for, including the fact that we were not allowed to take any of the gold with us because it was cursed. I mean, I love some autonomy in the matter. Personally, I think I look pretty cool as a gold-covered cursed skeleton. But as if that was not annoying enough, he just had to rub it in with the one line that none of us wanted to hear right now.
It's not about the gold.
Oh, he's gonna say it.
Shut up.
He's saying it. He said it.
Shut up.
He actually said it.
Shut up, stop. Go away, you're cringe.
I think it's entirely about the gold, not gonna lie.
It's entirely about the gold. And everybody, it's the shores of gold. And he's trying to tell us it's not about the... Okay, the exit is open. Let's just leave. It's not about the gold. It's about the glory. Probably the absolute worst thing he could have said to us. Much like exposure, I can't just walk up to a McDonald's and buy a Big Mac with a handful of glory. This finale was a resounding disappointment, especially considering the fact that half of us had already spent a bunch of gold because we expected to get a huge payday. Though there was still one thing that the shores of gold could be useful for. Now that we've gone through all this trouble, you guys ready to do it 4 more times for the gold curse?
No.
But you guys know why we did this, right? Like the real reason why we're doing this whole shores of gold thing? And with that, we can close the book on yet another chapter of the Sea of Tales. Thank you everybody so much for sticking around this crazy adventure. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. A massive shout out to PhuzzyBond who helped me out in the creation of this series, as well as captainfalcore and Blurbs for making guest appearances. You can find links to their channels in the description below. Don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you feel so inclined, hit that subscribe button to join the crew, and don't forget to ring that bell icon to not miss out on our next adventure. I hope you guys have a day filled with the tallest tales on the sea, and until next time, peace.
Time to see how much this thing's worth.
Haha, look at you losers, we killed your boss. Y'all ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Wow. That's like...
You know that Ashen Winds is over there the whole time, and we could have done that 4 or 5 times over at this point.
That's true.